that we should be more worried about the weaponization of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
The lawyers at the SEC are not paid well. It's a fairly low-paying job. But what they're looking for is a trophy. From the SEC, they're looking for something they put on basically their LinkedIn. Yeah. From that, they can get a job at a high-paying law firm. And the reason they don't attack the hedge funds is because those hedge funds employ those law firms. And they know if they attack the hedge funds, they're affecting their future career prospects. So they sell small investors down the river for their own career. That's what actually happens. Regulatory capture.
Regulatory capture.
Yeah, not good.
Well, Reggie Middleton is a private investor and financial analyst and blogs for the Huffington Post. He joins me now from our New York studio. Reggie Middleton, let me ask you, first of all, I mean, this report makes it pretty clear that something went on, that huge debts were hidden by the looks of it, but it also tries to underline the fact that it doesn't believe that so far there was any illegality. It's not alleging that.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't authoritatively comment on legality, but as for the ability to see it coming, I explained to my readers in January of 2008 that Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns were insolvent. It was very easy to see. It's the layman's term, I guess, would be fraud, but the technical term is the revocation of mark-to-market. Basically, Lehman Brothers was able to indicate the value of their own securities. Well, I disagree with your premise. Some of us did know in January of 2008. I mean,
the regulators obviously didn't know, though, did they?
Again, I beg to differ with the premise. There's a technical term called regulatory capture. Regulators are captured by those who they're supposed to regulate.
Well, this is pretty shocking, honestly. We have seen in this space a number of instances where federal judges have criticized the SEC, not having a faithful allegiance to the law, not being able to explain themselves in the Voyager bankruptcy. Is this a security? Is it not a security? Why won't you answer my questions? Congress, Gary Gensler won't answer questions. This is a lot worse. I mean, here a federal judge who is the senior judge in that district of Utah has ruled that the SEC lied to him and that they lied on purpose. And when they were caught in the lie, they came back with more lies. They doubled down on the lies. And it is shocking. And people, some people treating this as, well, here we go again, another 8. This is really, really outside of the bounds. This is worse than arbitrary and capricious decision-making. Lying to a federal judge on purpose is really something. And then the judge went on to say it's not an isolated instance here of a couple bad apples who got a little off track here and made misrepresentations. This is endemic to the institution. It implicates the entire SEC, and that there is an organizational bad faith at the SEC is what the judge said. And so I've never seen anything quite like this in terms of an indictment of an entire federal agency, because the lying and the misrepresentation of the applicable law was so pervasive. Again, the judge's term, pervasive in the case. I've been practicing law for a long time. I've never seen anything quite like that.
But there's an individual that was supporting Reggie in the Veri platform that he put out there early on when we were doing beta testing. And the SEC contacted him and threatened him and his family with loss of their assets and prosecution if he continued making videos. So
if he continued making videos, so basically they were censoring him, telling him to shut his mouth.
100% they were censoring him.
Otherwise, we will destroy you. That's what the SEC
They basically threatened. They threatened to destroy his life and his family's life. Yes.
And set the DOJ on him as well.
Wow. They must really want these patents, huh? So can somebody...
Like William said, Sarah, they are the most valuable, I would say, not just in DeFi, but in worldwide trade and finance. We're talking about TradeFi, DeFi, governments trading between one another. Reggie owns the most valuable property in the world.
Call a virtual Goldman Sachs on top of Bitcoin. Tell us about it.
Well, a virtual Goldman Sachs on top of the Bitcoin and protocol and network sans the extreme conflicts of interest and the excessive bonus compensation. It's sort of long. So basically, I'm building a more efficient financial system. I've created an invention. I've created this. What I've created was, or my team and I've created was a wallet that in itself allows each and every person to become their own investment bank, commercial bank, exchange, stock exchange, bond exchange, etc., and lender. Basically, through this personal wallet, you now have loans without banks, trades without exchanges, contracts without lawyers. This is phenomenal, and as you may know, this is a direct threat to the hedge money that stands as a middleman that fails to add value. It is disruption to the nth degree. What we're doing is UltraCoin is a derivative layer to allow you to program Bitcoin. Bitcoin's value is in the protocol. Most people concentrate on the little accounts of value, otherwise Bitcoin, what they call coins, and they focus on the price, 400, 600, etc. But the value is the ability to program the coins to take the place of the New York Stock Exchange, to take the place of JP Morgan, to take the place of merchant banks, which is what we've done. We've patented the process. We've created smart contracts that end users can go in their private wallet and create on their own. You design your smart contract, you create a letter of credit, you trade over 10,000 tickers with the exposure of Google. You could short JP Morgan, you can go long the Korean won. You could do all
Really
this.
hate JP Morgan.
Not about hate, it's business. Business is business, right?
I don't want to put them out of the door.
It's business, not personal.
The banks are going to hate you. Full stop.
It all depends on how the banks look at it. Because I think we're first to market in the technology and we've patented it. If the patents are granted, which I'm very sure they will be, then the banks have to come behind us.
A lot of people don't understand what level you plan on, especially with the patent that you hold. And I'm pretty sure you definitely understand you playing with the big boys. You ain't playing with the big boys. You playing with the big boys and the big bucks.
An Obama-appointed judge in the Southern District of New York, a bank-friendly jurisdiction where you bring most of your cases, recently found that decentralized financial technology, quote, not only removes the so-called middlemen from these transactions, but it also allows users to interact through a variety of methods in an easy and efficient manner, end quote. The court also said underwriters like the ones at banks where you work, sir, are, quote, precisely the types of individual roles that decentralized exchanges were designed to eliminate, end quote. Mr. Gensler, can you assure this committee that your style of regulation by harassment towards digital asset innovation is to the benefit of every American and not driven by your desires to protect industry incumbents?
Use your money to do a transaction or make a deal. All transactions are basically agreements or simple contracts. You can embed the contract or the agreement into the money. So the money is the agreement and the agreement is the contract. Hence, the agreements are unbreakable because they're programmable and embedded into the money. And we can take these unbreakable contracts or unbreakable promises and we can use them to imitate business functions. Any business function. The first product that we have out, value trading, imitates the business functions of investment banks and brokerages. So you can trade roughly a little over 75,000 tickers in a wide variety of assets, asset classes, stocks, bonds, commodities, silver, across all major exchanges throughout the world, peer-to-peer, with no exchange risk. You have control of your money. Without a broker, without an exchange. The interesting part is there were a lot of banks that are interested in this arena. We're talking probably the largest potential market in the world, over $1 quadrillion in that.
The irony about the government's assertion of fraud against Veritaseum and Reggie Middleton is they said he enticed investors to buy into his IDO, to buy the Veri token, by fraudulently claiming that patents that he filed would be granted in the future. One, that's evidence of nothing. You haven't proved that he's done any deceit or any fraud because he actually did file those patents and had every intent of those patents being granted. But that was one of the main arguments that the government complained about him and brought the lawsuit against him and really crushed his project and took 96% of his assets. Well, ironically, 7 years later, after defending his innovation, his invention for 7 years, the Japanese Patent Office and the U.S. Patent Office granted his patents. So the number one claim that the government had against him is he was acting in fraud and deceit and tried to deceive retail holders into supporting his project because he was lying about his patent, his belief that his patents would be granted, and then they were granted. Right. So the irony there is thick.
I'm not a lawyer, so my non-scientific, layperson's non-legal opinion is that what we've patented is foundational technology because it's a very specific, very technical patent that covers a very small sliver of the space, but that small sliver is rested upon by multiple industries, with the blockchain and crypto industry being one of many. With the patent, I said, well, let's go and talk to people who are using it. Let's make licensing arrangements, and I could continue to invent and create things and license it away and try and make the world a better place. But that's not really how things work in reality. In reality, nobody wants to pay for something they didn't pay for, regardless of whether it belongs to them or not. And I went to several companies to try and discuss licensing or partnerships or ventures or deals. Long story short, I was being disrespected, door stamped in my face, etc. So after about a year and a half, counsel said, you have to file suit. So we filed suit against Coinbase, Global, and Circle, Internet Financial. Circle is the fintech company that does the stablecoin USDC, and Coinbase is this country's largest native crypto exchange. Okay, and that's how we got to that point. Oh, yes, about the IPR. Legal counsel passed away unexpectedly. I withdrew the lawsuits without prejudice, which meant I could always file again. But Coinbase filed a petition for IPR review. Legal language for they want to invalidate the patent because they said that it was based upon prior art. In other words, it wasn't original. It's based on other people's work and other stuff that they said made the patent bad. I replied to that with help of very talented legal counsel. I think it was like a 6-month review, roughly. And at the end of that 6 months or so, the patent trial and review, the patent trial and appeal board, which is like court inside of the USPTO, denied their petition for a trial. To be clear, they didn't go to trial and lose. They were denied the right to go to trial. The reason was they didn't have merits for a trial. The review board said, and I'm paraphrasing in layman's terms, it's a shame I got to put all these disclaimers in.
All the disclaimers, yeah.
In layman's terms, they're saying you don't have a chance of winning at trial, so we're not going to give you a trial. It's a waste of resources. And that implicitly, in my layman's opinion, significantly strengthens the patent.
The problem, we've been getting this on Twitter, the problem with the government making a claim against you is that everybody looks at the lawsuit and says, oh, he must be guilty of something, when the exact opposite is true. The government made up these allegations against him and prosecuted him on a wholly unfounded basis. In the complaint, the SEC can throw the kitchen sink at you and say, oh, you're a fraud, you're trying to deceive, you're trying to act in deceit, you're acting in bad faith, you're trying to steal money from retail. They can call you anything they want in their complaint. But when they settled, they didn't, Reggie and Veritaseum didn't make one statement admitting or denying.
The reason I agreed to the fine for the SEC is not because the SEC was correct. That was extremely bad behavior by the SEC, corruption, frankly. But if I did not agree to pay the fine, Tesla would have gone bankrupt immediately. So I was told by our CFO that the banks would immediately suspend our lines of credit. And if they suspend our lines of credit at that time, we would have gone bankrupt instantly. So there would never have been an opportunity for a trial because Tesla would be dead. So really, if this is like someone holding a gun to your kid's head and saying, pay $20 million. and admit there's like a hostage negotiation.
Which leads me to the belief that the SEC is one of the most corrupt institutions in the world. They do not protect the interest of the small investor, but of the big boys and Wall Street.
There is no better witness to the veracity of any defense than the alleged defrauded defending the alleged fraud at their own expense.